Vermintide 2 has no offline support.
Do you see that?
Yeah, that's right.
You're
You can
fucking
only
pissed.
play as long as the servers are up. And if we look back on the history of games that ran on live servers, then it's just pure depression. Now, am I saying Vermintide 2 will eventually die?
No!
But me basically losing access to my copy of the game because of that is nonsense. To this day, even if Steam goes down randomly, or if you were to be completely cut off from your internet, you'll still be able to play Left 4 Dead 2. Yeah, you don't have add-ons, but you'll still have plugins at least. So what's Vermintide 2's excuse? This brings up another issue. There's no single player option. Well, you can solo maps, but you can never just pause. For a game like Vermintide 2, it just doesn't seem right to me for it to not have a single player option. Fatshark from the beginning set their modding scene up for failure by splitting the modding community and the official game community in half. The modded realm should have just been one with the official realm. Not only does the official realm have a leveling system that makes no progress during the modded realm, but you also have to level through the official realm to unlock everything in order to fully experience the modded realm.
You're fighting right to the right.
What type of nonsense is that nonsense? Well, there is an answer to that. Believe it or not, in the modded realm, you can't interact with the crafting system. So what you do instead of grinding in the base game is finding an add-on that gives you set properties and reds. My question is, what happens when the mod becomes unfunctional? Or what if whoever made this add-on decides to delete this mod? Or even a better question, what if no one cared enough to even make this add-on in the first place? Here's another case of the community doing the dev's job. And I've been seeing this with Valve for a decade, and now I'm seeing it with Fatshark. Base modded realm has no add-on menu. You need an add-on to essentially use an add-on. I know damn well these developers played Left 4 Dead 2. No, even more that they should have added a menu for mods. Whoever made these two add-ons are single-handedly the reason to why half these mods work. Modding in Vermintide 2 seems pretty limited compared to Left 4 Dead 2. Valve, for the longest time, have always endorsed modding in their games. Running the modded realm reveals that most add-ons that are made are unfunctional. Each major update, less and less workshop add-ons work. This reminds me a lot of the Last Stand update, except this is 10 times worse. While the Last Stand did cause some add-ons to be broken, I could say that at least 95% of said add-on were left unfazed. And for all the crap I give the Last Stand, the fact that the community was able to pull this off without the entire workshop falling apart is nothing short of amazing. If a small team of fans under a strict timeline could do it, then why can't Fatshark do it? The modding scene is dead in Vermintide 2. The developers don't really seem to care or support it, and I promise you, if Left 4 Dead 2 did the same thing, it wouldn't be as prominent as it is today. Mods are allowed in the official realm, but they have to go through an approval list by Fatshark. Most of these add-ons are pretty limited, but it's a step in the right direction. While I'd like to see these two eventually combine into one, chances are only getting lower with verses coming out. Left 4 Dead 2 had basically the same issue, where people would use add-ons to make verses easier. Skins that made the infected stick out like sore thumbs are a pretty good example of that, but Left 4 Dead 2 just separates them only in verses, so the excuse that add-ons will affect verses is still a no-go for me. I think the only real reason why Vermintide 2 doesn't have the same add-ons as Left 4 Dead 2 is the in-game store. Skins, weapon skins, and cosmetics. If there's an add-on that provides a skin, then what's the point of buying these expensive ass skins on the store? Why buy the DLC maps when you can play an endless amount of custom campaigns, which at some point will become on par or better than the actual official game content? Well, Left 4 Dead 2 straight up just didn't even give a damn and made them all free. Then again, Fatshark isn't Valve, so I would still just say do it anyways. Mods will keep the game alive far longer than Winds of Magic ever will, and maybe, just maybe, if the game is still being played, some people might just buy the DLC anyways. No matter how you twist it or how you turn it, having mods in the official game has zero downsides. The way Vermintide did it is the wrong way. Left 4 Dead 2 did it the right way. Another good reason why the modded realm is probably separated from the base game is this game's loot system. The main objective, or the objective the game constantly reminds you of, is to get your weapons to the max upgrades, and in order to get the best gear you need the red tier weapons. I've already have a video explaining how bad this loot system is, but now that I've obtained all all the reds, including the skins, I could say with full confidence how bad it could really get. It took me roughly 500 hours to obtain all of them, and that's including the red skins. How I did this, as stated before in my previous nonsense video, is about abusing Chaos Waste and the deed system. Chaos Waste doesn't require you to get all the books and grims like in the base game, but it does require you to get all the pilgrim coins and unlock all the chests. Rounding this up, it'll take about 40 minutes for every Chaos Waste run to get 3 Emperor Vaults, and that's if everything goes right. In reality, it'll probably take about an hour. So if we're being real, and if we do the math, it'll take you 2 days non-stop playing to perfection to get around 200 Emperor Vaults. And if you experience opening Emperor Vaults before, then you'll maybe get 1 or 2 reds from the Emperor Vaults, and that's including duplicate reds that you've already gotten. If you keep doing the math, it just gets crazier. So I switched to spamming deeds. The original maps of Vermintide 2 take around 20 to 30 minutes depending on your party's speed. At this point, we became masters at this game's deed system, ranking up Emperor Vaults like crazy. Even this method has its drawbacks. For one shot kills are everywhere. Certain careers are impossible to play, examples being Unchained, Bounty Hunter, and Shade. They're too difficult to pull off when every enemy does double the damage and is twice as tanky. And we're not even mentioning the books and the Grims and Renault's gift, which could all screw you over with luck. Second, this still isn't the fastest way to gain Emperor Vaults. The fastest way is playing on Recruit on the Screaming Bell, while glitching out the deed by one player pressing escape on the deed, while the host changes the map while the player accepts the deed. With this method, you can get a guaranteed Emperor Vaults every 20 minutes. Even with this, it'll still take an unreal amount of time. And I'm highlighting these exploits to tell you the extent you have to go in order to get reds in a reasonable amount of time. Getting Emperor Vaults in the in-game way requires a lot of luck because of Renault's gift. Same with Chaos Waste. Who's to say the chest won't screw you over randomly with a boss that'll knock you all off?
No!
Goldspire! He's gone! Meanwhile, exploiting Emperor Vaults is the most effective way of getting the most of them. The problem is the game's rewards are based on a luck system on top of more and more luck systems. I have an entire video about it, and honestly, I can make this entire video piggybacking on that video. That's how bad the loot system is. And funny enough, Left 4 Dead 2 doesn't have any of these issues because it doesn't have a loot system. And it didn't need one. Do I think this applies to Vermintide 2? Well, no. I just think they do not need to make it so damn grindy and luck based. That's all. Just like in Left 4 Dead 2, we don't like to mention the community because both are toxic in their own way. The Left 4 Dead 2 community is full of elites trying to one-up each other in every turn. Cocky when winning, whining and quitters when losing. But at the very least, most Left 4 Dead 2 players I've ran into who talk smack, which is very often, at least have the skill to back up the smack talk. Even in my comment section, they constantly fact check me with reason and logic. But the Vermintide 2 community is beyond soft compared to the Left 4 Dead 2 community. Unbelievably soft and toxic. Quick play is full of players who join, die instantly, and leave. It's full of people who bark orders and expect someone else like me to listen to them as if they're my boss or something. Or throw blame on their teammates when they go down. Throw games when something doesn't go their way. They suck at this video game. Half the time, they take the talents that only hurt them and fight hordes by themselves, or refuse to keep up.
I'll not have another one of those!
Dude, look at the button. Look back.
Holy shit. It's easier to play with bots than it is to play with players. Half of these players are ungrateful and blame me for them dying when I'm the one holding the Grim and the Tome. You're telling me I gotta sacrifice my boss killing potential and have to constantly keep an eye on you in a video game? People don't even care enough to pick up the Tomes and Grims. I mean, what a joke. None of this would be an issue if I didn't see the quick play bonus. So the game wants you to play quick play, and the quick play bonus is also pretty good to make matters worse. I mean, what a disaster. Let's be real. This crafting system is one of the worst crafting systems I've ever seen in a very long time. It's slow, unreal slow, and takes way too long to obtain the properties you want. The funny thing is, there's an add-on that straight up fixes this and lets you pick the properties you want, the way it should have been. Rerolling properties to basically get the same 2 properties is stupid. 90% of the characters in this game go for block cost reduction and attack speed with swift slaying. Yeah, there's rare cases like Bretonnian Sword, but you rarely deviate from those same few properties. And we're not even going to mention the necklaces and trinkets, block cost reduction, health, and curse resistance. I want to highlight that curse resistance and health properties because most players I come across don't have them, which makes you one-shottable, even in Legend with the books. The only thing that really changes around is the charm and some ranged weapons. That being said, most of the properties are just straight up inferior to the meta properties. Push block angle. Who in the world is ever going to take that over something that allows you to save your teammates in almost every situation? Apparently all push block angle does is increase your block size. That changes apparently very little, and to make matters worse, you can already do this without push block angle. You can basically block behind you with most weapons. And what's the point if your block can just be broken so easily without block cost reduction? This whole thing where you can't pick the properties you want is an enormous waste of time. Why does it randomly roll the properties? It already costs the player resources to re-roll a property, and that wouldn't be a problem if it didn't take so long to convert dust. And it costs you a good amount of dust to get the right properties too, since there's no telling when you will get the properties you want. On top of this, the dust required to do this is the dust you no longer can obtain the higher difficulty you go. Legend only gives you orange dust when you need blue and green dust for weapon properties, making orange dust completely useless half of the time. The only use for orange dust this late into the game is to convert it into other dust for sets and builds. The problem is that the crafting system keeps crashing the moment I start converting dust. That's the thing that really puts the nail on the coffin for all of this. The fact that the crafting system crashes every single time I use it. So I can't even convert any orange dust to lower tier dust because the game crashes every single time. I mean, how can you mess up something so bad? We're one of the only few people who have almost 100%ed the game. OKRI's challenges in my eyes are a complete waste of time, because even if you were to finish all of them, which is a monumental feat, there is no reward, not even an achievement on Steam to display. I'm not saying that Left 4 Dead 2's achievements are any better at giving you a reward, but at least you can display them on your Steam profile. That and most achievements I've completed have just been completed by playing the game. And yes, and I got lucky with good guy Nick. It's only when The Last Stand came out is when my 100% was taken away. That being said, OKRI's challenges are Left 4 Dead 2 achievements on crack. Some are just cheap and require an unreal amount of game time. 100 missions on each character means you have to complete 1,500 missions. Remember that the average map takes around 30 to 20 minutes. The other challenges require a full 4-man party. Challenges can't be done in public. L4's challenge is just a troll waiting to happen. There's no way you can coordinate anything with randos in Vermintide. Most challenges are just anti-fun and stupid specific. Some are seriously impossible because we don't have pre-made format group. Worst of all, I have to reiterate that even if you bust your ass finally completing all the OKRI's challenges, there is no reward, no ultimate skin, no weapon skin, not even a border, nothing. Imagine if Left 4 Dead 2 had Keith challenges. This game has a meta, and I ain't gonna lie, certain careers got absolutely devastating nerfs that make them feel underwhelming to play. And a lot of you will say it's because of the balance in the game around versus. Well, I don't know about you. This game has been PvE for 4 years with no sign of versus even being close to done. So in my eyes, this game should be balanced in a PvE mindset. How is it possible for a game about killing rats can have a league-like balance team? Characters like Unchained and Bounty Hunter are completely unplayable in most cases. Over time, I've found very specific talents and properties. Bounty Hunter can be a good horde clearer, but not a good boss killer due to constantly carrying the Grims. Unchained, I have no answers for. She's just bad. Zealot needs an entire team to enable him, and if there's a Waste Stalker, then Zealot is pretty much screwed. I'm gonna be real. This may just be my opinion, but I feel like Slayer is just a straight up easier version of Zealot. Pyromancer is another case of needing specific properties, and to be honest again, Battle Wizard is just easier to play. Some careers are just clearly better than others. Why play Unchained when you could play Warrior Priest or Ironbreaker? I think Ironbreaker is the best tank in the game, just because if the Ironbreaker knows what he's doing, he's damn near impossible to kill. Why play genuinely harder careers like Bounty Hunter and Shade when you could just play Grail Knight and basically do the same thing? Yeah, you can make the argument that Shade is a better boss killer in the end, but you could also say that Grail Knight is a better horror clearer and has better survivability. Then he gives his entire team buffs. Bounty Hunter's boss killing potential is not only harder to pull off than Shade and Grail Knights, but is also not as rewarding if you don't have a concentration potion and the right talents. And I seriously mean it when I say, why play any other ranged career when you can play Outcast Engineer and basically destroy everything with your minigun and handgun that both one-shot everything. And the weapons are even worse when it comes to the meta. The damn flail and shield are just unbalanced. The handgun is straight up better than the bow on Huntsman. Same with the pistol on Barden. The repeater handgun on Saltspire is abysmal on every career. Then we have the mace on Sienna. Holy moly, does this thing reek of ass. This thing is not only hard to use, but also offers no reward. All risk, no reward. And compare this to the dagger that gives you free movement speed, the fire sword which gives you a full health bar of temp health from one slap, or the sword which is an amazing horror clearing weapon. You see what I mean? Some things are just objectively better than others. All these nerfs, and for what? Am I playing League? The balance has been screwed in this game. Some careers like Warrior Priest and Outcast Engineer literally make the game a cakewalk. Chaos Waste makes the meta even more strict. Careers like Bounty Hunter, which is held by duct tape and the freaking Griffin's Foot, or Scrounger, is completely dumpstered by the Chaos Wastes RNG. No more ammo regen. Pyromancer, who needs crits from her staff and trinkets, is just Mancer with no pyro. Unchained blows up instantly without Barkskin. Zealot gets screwed over by most boons if they give him any healing, including teammates boons. All ranged careers are crippled by Rampart. Rampart just straight up zeros all range damage, including bombs. Depending on how unlucky your team is, you can literally lose off of this. A Minotaur with Rampart and Mighty and you're in for a real ass whooping. What the hell is a freaking Bounty Hunter going to do when his only boss killing potential is taken away in the most uninteractive way? Rampart should just be removed. But characters like Grail Knight seem to always perform perfectly fine. Warrior Priest doesn't even get affected by half of the curses of the Chaos Waste. I ain't gonna lie, Chaos Waste is balancing with the boons and everything is just horrible. Besides that, the entire Chaos Waste is buggy. As more updates came to Chaos Waste, the more buggy it became. The old chest system would always spawn a boss. Now the chest can spawn almost anything. The biggest problem with this is enemy units spawning too far away or bugging out the chest. Thankfully, the chest eventually unlocks itself. This is a problem so common that it almost happens every game. Speaking of bosses, the Storm Fiend in Chaos Waste is unreal buggy. Sometimes it'll straight up avoid a fight and you'll lose Pilgrim Coins because of it. Bosses that are knocked off the map don't provide Pilgrim Coin. Why? When the map design in Chaos Waste is equivalent to an Overwatch map. Most deaths in Vermintide 2 is you being knocked off, and that's on both sides. Why can't the coins just drop back to the surface? Why do the coins gotta disappear?
Wait.
Lots of right when the cursed torch can reappear back. The Minotaur gets stuck so many times in Chaos Waste, and I'm starting to believe it was an intentional mechanic. What's with the Beastmen spawning so many times in the Chaos Waste compared to the base game? I thought we'd see more Chaos faction than Beastmen. It's literally insane how many times I've heard the Minotaur spawn. Every time he spawns, I have like a mental breakdown and try to sound like him.
Oh.
No, don't do it.
Ooh. Oh. Enemies being stuck in the air, falling through the map, being stuck in the void, not holding a weapon for an extended period of time when using a temper. The list goes on. The footage you've been seeing this entire video may have been funny to watch, but trust me, when playing the game, it could end runs that last 20-40 minutes. I grew numb to this, but seriously, when I have hours of footage of enemies hitting you through blocking, enemies popping out of existence, patrols spawning before your eyes.
Down with that kick.
What the hell is this? What the hell is this?
Oh!
then there's something seriously wrong. We can all say what we want about Left 4 Dead 2 being buggy, but most of that stuff is in custom maps, even if we count versus, because versus is no saint for bugs and glitches. Vermintide 2's versus can be even worse. That being said, Vermintide versus was probably made by like 5 people, so I'll cut it some slack. But Chaos Waste was made before this whole dark time split team thing. This game mode is unstable, like a very mild, faded version of By Mountain. Invisible walls are everywhere in the Chaos Waste. Most of these don't even make any sense, and they appear as soon as you pass a point of no return. So jumps you could clearly make are now impossible to do. Why is this so enforced in Chaos Waste? Makes no sense, because it's really easy to miss things when walking around. Early game deaths are even more punishing because you are blocked from going back for tempers or chests of trials. In the base game, there's barely any points of no return, and half the time you'll need to go back to places to get the Grims and Tomes. It's just a sudden change. Why? Why can't we go back? Why put an invisible wall? For a game full of RNG and bugs, it would be nice to simply travel back and go grab a freaking boon from a chest. Another problem with the Chaos Waste is that its design requires you to split up, going against Vermintide's very own game philosophy. When you split up in Vermintide 2, the director throws a hissy fit and 4 specials on top of you, sometimes even a boss. Wait, I'm alone. I'm alone. I need backup. I'm alone.
I jumped down. I can't get to you.
Left 4 Dead 2 does the same, but Vermintide takes that to another level. You'll kill an assassin and another one spawns right behind you, or a patrol pops into an existence. But if you don't split up, you can miss coins and boons and tempers and exchanges. On top of that, some separation points have points of no return, so if you split up too fast and one person can miss out a boon or even a chest.
None of our teammates went down at all. Wow, we missed coins because our teammates went. Ugh.
How did you guys think that was a good idea? Chaos Waste is so glitchy and unstable that you could easily get soft locked right at the end, due to the fact that you need the whole party to proceed the final missions in the pilgrimage. How can this even happen? The boon system over the years has been messed with and is now bloated with bad boons. Some examples are Kane's Might, which is just like playing the games of Grims, except you get some extra power that is barely even noticeable, and it is not a good trade-off for being one-shottable. Kane's Fury, which lets you take damage for every hit, but lets you do more damage that again is not even noticeable. And Myrmidia's Wildfire, which explodes enemies that are on fire, which only 2 characters can do. Those are just some examples. There are barrel boons, which good luck using any of those because barrels are rare in Chaos Waste. Boons that need other boons to work. Boons that screw over Zealot and make him unplayable. Bad boons don't even make sense. Boons textbook definition means helpful, so how can some of these boons be literally useless? Half of these boons didn't even exist when Chaos Waste was just released. All these barrel boons, chest boons, are real specific boons, are all just fanning the roster. From watching the cutscenes and doing my own research on the lore and listening to dialogue, the story of Chaos Waste is actually pretty simple. We're getting a blessing from the gods. The only way to get that blessing is from the Citadel of Eternity. The problem with this is that there's almost zero dialogue about the journey to the Citadel once we finish the Chaos Waste. We do hear some dialogues right before the last stand in the Citadel, but most of the time that dialogue is interrupted by something or just doesn't even play. On top of that, it's really easy to miss. So far in the hundreds of hours I've played, I've only heard Carillion mention how much he wants to talk to Lilith, and Kruber calling out for Tal when he picks up the scroll.
King Tal, Lord of the Hunt, here.
The problem is, does this mean that whoever picks up the scroll gets the blessing? Or does everyone get the blessing and get to speak to their god? I don't know. And it would be nice if there was some dialogue or lore or anything telling us what happens after finishing the Chaos Waste. Now, to be fair, Left 4 Dead 2 has the same issue of not knowing what's going on. But if you do some research into the comics and lore, do get a pretty good understanding for what's happening. Not to mention all the other stuff on the walls, while in Vermintide, Vermintide, from what I understand, the end times is not only hated by the Warhammer fans, but it's also pretty hard to get a gist of what's going on. Now, I'm not going to get into the new content too deeply since I'm honestly not too interested in it, but I do have a lot of experience playing the new maps in Vermintide 2. Well, because Quick Play constantly picks the new maps all the time, and since I played them so much, all I can really say is that they're right. I have a sick feeling that this whole team split thing between Darktide and Vermintide has affected these maps. But what really confuses me is that none of these new maps mention anything about Chaos Waste, or what happened with the Blessing, or what the Blessing even did for the team. I don't get why. Instead, they're bickering about something with Sienna being a necromancer or something, which, by the way, Saltspire apparently 1v4s the entire team and almost kills Sienna, which all happens off screen. Like, damn. And people say that Saltspire is the weakest of the 5. I would have liked to seen that fight. It would have been awesome. Instead, we just hear snippets of dialogue throughout the island map about it. Dialogue that apparently you can miss.
Just didn't play. Got cut off by something.
Sick of this.
How many times, Kruber, let it be?
We used to be mates, but we stopped trusting each other and it's killing us.
Doing that whole campaign with Sienna's sister, the story really just takes a plunge for me. This all seems like filler from what's really happening, which is the impending doom from the end times. You know, the whole reason why we went to the Chaos Waste? Throughout the campaign, Sienna is really quiet about killing her sister, with a couple of voice lines only used for banter. When we actually straight up kill her, the whole crew just talks about the job being well done, like with something casual or something. But Sienna still stays pretty quiet, which, to be fair, is pretty realistic.
My father's axe may be old and worn, but his drinky days go on.
Thankfully, if you buy the Necromancer DLC, you hear the characters talk about killing Sophia in the keep. So, there is a continuity with this in the campaign. Why not do it for the Chaos Waste? In fact, why not do it for the Skittergate too? All of these major story events are not talked about in the keep, when there's plenty of examples of the characters talking about the events, even in the prior games. In the Screaming Bell, they talk about the bell they take down in Vermintide 1, when in reality, that was one of the many short missions in Vermintide that really wasn't that important. The Uber Strike missions remind me a lot of what Left 4 Dead 2 did with bringing back the old campaigns. Even though I've played the first game and remember a lot of Vermintide 1 maps were really short, I think they should have still brought back all the maps, regardless of how long they were. Left 4 Dead 1 did the same, and I feel like there's no reason to only bring back a few maps. Reminds me of all the character motivations being put to a complete halt in the second game. Remember Barden's search for a hidden keep? I don't. The DLCs of this game are strange. I've already talked about Winds of Magic enough, but I gotta talk about the careers. I've played the game long enough to say all the DLC careers are pay to win. I know I made this point earlier, but legitimately, except Sister to the Thorn because she was nerfed, even then I still think she's really good. Just by existing, she increases healing by 25%. You know how insane that is? That means every attack that gives you temp health, that temp health gives you 25% more temp health. That's an entire team survivability increased by 25. We already know how OP Warrior Priest is. He has literal iframes. Outcast Engineer one-shots everything with his pistol and minigun and can basically take care of Chaos Warriors instantly in specials too. What's his weakness? Melee? Yeah, right. Just equip the Cog Hammer or Shield and Hammer and you'll never die. Grail Knight doesn't need to deal with bad temp health talents, nor does he need the skill to pull off Shade or Bounty Hunter. His only weakness is range, which doesn't matter because your teammates are there. Necromancer is hard to play, but damn, once you learn her, she has horror clear, tankiness, and with her skeleton, an infinite vent supply with no downsides, and she could insta-kill Chaos Warriors. That's not to say the base game careers are bad, I'm just saying the DLCs are better. I can already see the comments saying, I'm dissing on this game, I'm a hater, all that stupid junk. That's what people think when I talk smack about Left 4 Dead 2. The reality is, no one plays a game for over 500 hours unless they truly like the game. I'm not blind to a game's fault. Vermintide 2 is full of them, and while some are literally game breaking, that doesn't take away from the fact that this is the closest thing we'll probably ever get to a true successor to Left 4 Dead 2. Yeah, we got Darktide, but I I still consider Vermintide 2 to be closer to Left 4 Dead 2 than Darktide. That, and I've never played Darktide because everyone's ripping it a new one with horrible release. Yeah, Vermintide 2 has its flaws, but it's damn near on par or as good as Left 4 Dead 2. It's one of the only games I'd ever put next to Left 4 Dead 2, but at the same time, it's pulled down by the many questionable choices Fat Shark has made over the years. That and the Left 4 Dead 2 community is the real MVP here. If only in some alternate universe Fat Shark endorsed modding as much as Valve, maybe Vermintide 2 would have been bigger than it is today.